Ladies and gentlemen, please give a hearty Lake Trust welcome to U.S. Gymnastics gold medalist, award-winning speaker, and author, Mr. Peter Vidmar.
Well, thanks. It's great to be here. You didn't know David's going to bust out some moves a little bit later, because he's known me for many years, and he actually can do some skills here, so ask him later. We'll keep it up here for him. He's going like this. Anyways, it's great to be here. I love that I have this privilege to speak to Lake Trust Credit Union. I've been a member of the credit union in Southern California for 28 years now, and the service is fantastic. My mother was in education, and so I'm a member of the Schools First Federal Credit Union down in Orange County, California. And I appreciate all the services they provided for my family, and it's just been terrific. So, and I got to be honest with you, I didn't make that video that they showed of me. A restaurant chain made it, and they said, hey, if you want to use it for future speeches, you know, that's fine. So I thought, okay, I'll use it. Now, it's kind of over the top, I get it, but I show it for two reasons. Number one, the video that you just saw proves to all of you that I used to be able to do all this stuff. And the other reason, when they show me on this big screen, look, I'm so big. Because we gymnasts get lots of comments from people who only watch our sport on television. So a lot of the events that I travel to, there's always someone that's going to walk up to me and look down and say, wow, I've seen your sport before on television, but I never realized you guys are so little. And there's a reason for that, because if you only watch gymnastics on television, think about it, what do you see on the television screen when you watch my sport? You see gymnasts, right? And judges and coaches and officials that are working the floor. So if you think about it, everyone on the floor is either a gymnast or, an ex-gymnast. So even the floor is kind of small. So they really can't tell that until after the competition, and it's always then when an ex-NBA star who's working for CBS Sports walks up to me and says, well, Peter, congratulations, you had a great competition. How'd you feel? So we are small. But that lack of height actually helps in my sport because, you know, there's a very high strength-to-weight ratio that's demanded in gymnastics. So naturally, of course, we little guys can find that ratio a lot more efficiently than the big guys can. I know this means nothing to you. But I am 9 inches taller than Gabby Douglas. Anyways, a lot of things help a lot more than lack of height, and that's what I'd like to share with you today. But before I go any further, I've had a chance to give a lot of presentations for many, many years. I rarely talk about what I'm going to tell you right now because I look about your theme today of living the promise and this promise that of this exciting thing you have to look forward to. And you know what it means to deliver on promises to your members and how important that is. And I got a taste of what it means to really deliver a promise. Because sometimes, you know what, promises to deliver, they can be pretty demanding at times. And it's not always easy to deliver on a promise. And I learned that from my coach. You saw that video a little bit about my coach, Makoto Sakamoto. And he was my coach for my entire career, for 12 years, from age 11 to age 23 to my last competition at the Games. And after I'd finished my high school career and I'd signed a letter of intent to compete for UCLA, I grew up in Los Angeles, and my coach got the assistant coaching job a couple years earlier at UCLA, and I wanted to stay with him. I was competing in an event over at the Air Force Academy. It was called the U.S. Olympic Festival. It's kind of like an Olympic Games for American athletes. They basically take all the athletes in the country and all the sports, put them together, and divide the country up into 4 different teams based on geographic regions, you know, the West team, the North team, the South team. And so my coach was the assistant coach of the coach of the West team. And it was at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. If you've ever been there, it's a beautiful campus. They have, in the center of campus is this quad with this beautiful chapel and the Rocky Mountains in the back. It's just incredible. And so every morning I would get up and I'd go for a run with my coach. And I'd finish the run. I would do some exercises and some conditioning skills. And then I would kind of mentally review all the routines I'd be performing in the competition later on that week. At the end of one of the runs, Mako looks at me after the run and after little exercises and he says, hey, Pete, yeah? You know, I think this morning training is really, really good for you. Yeah? No, I think it's really good. Yeah? He says, do you know what a vow is? A what? A vow. Yeah, it's like a really big promise. He goes, yeah, it's a big promise. What do you say we make a vow that you'll do morning training like this every morning, starting today, till you graduate from college? I hadn't started college yet. Now, on the outside, I said, okay. On the inside, what did I say? Oh, man, every day? I mean, I don't know if you've ever had a situation where someone has asked of you, maybe a member, saying, can you do this for me? And it's a pretty demanding thing. And you look at him and you want to give him great service and you say, oh, absolutely. And on the inside, you're thinking, oh, man, how am I going to pull this off? So I'm looking at my coach thinking, every day? This isn't one big this isn't a big promise. This is like 1,500 little promises. Every day till I graduate? What if I don't graduate? And then, remember Dwayne's first slide? You saw a handshake? He reached his hand out and he said, good, let's shake on it. So I reach out and shake the hand of a man I really respected. Now I'm bound by that handshake to keep my promise, to deliver on the promise. And you know what? I got to be honest with you. It was really easy. The first 2 weeks was easy. I moved into the dorms at UCLA, and I remember I figured out a little route to run, and I finished the run by running up these steps in the center of campus. You know, Rocky had come out running upstairs his hip, and it was cool. And it's California, it's great weather, and then it rained. Do I have to do this in the rain? I shook his hand. And then I sprained my ankle. Do I have to limp through this every morning? I shook his hand. Then I had the flu, but I shook his hand. And I never missed a day. I actually did graduate, and I extended that commitment to him until my last day of competition at the Olympic Games, because it meant so much to me to deliver on that promise that I made to someone that I really respected. Now, a lot happened between that handshake and my Olympic experience, and that's what I really want to share with you this morning. I want to discuss with you really a judging category that I was evaluated under that would raise the average or the good performance to the world-class level. Before I do that, though, you kind of got to understand how it is that we evaluate a routine in gymnastics. You know, how do we get the scores that we get? Well, first of all, you have to pay off the French judge. Just kidding. That's figure skating. Actually, sorry. Every skill that we do has a difficulty label or level attached to it. So we have A, B, C, D, and E level skills. A's are the easiest, E's are the hardest. You have to do a certain number of each of those skills. Give you an idea of how difficult the scoring can be. There's a gymnastics skill that most of you identify men's gymnastics with, probably more than anything else, something that we do on the rings. Any idea what it is? Iron cross. Yeah, people always walk up to me, look down and say, you're a gymnast. Yeah. Well, can you do one of these? And to many people, that's their definition of my sport. The iron cross, that majestic skill that takes the strength. An iron cross, in all honesty, is only B-level difficulty. It's a beginning intermediate level skill. One step above a forward roll. So you're probably thinking, okay, Peter, what's an E? An E, for example, might be an upside-down iron cross. It's called an inverted cross, where your feet are over your head. You're holding it upside down. That's only a D. And then to get E-level credit, you then may have to press out of the inverted cross and push your way all the way up to a handstand, which is fine, except to do that, you have to be the missing link. Not many people do a skill like that. But at our level of competition, we really didn't have too much trouble fulfilling the difficulty requirement, which nowadays is the right amount of A through E level skills. So if, for example, I were to do a routine on the rings or the pommel horse, high bar, whatever, and I do it perfectly, legs are straight, toes are pointed, fulfill the difficulty, stick my landing, highest score I could get was a 9.4. And that's not good enough, right? It's different now, but in most cases when I competed, many times in order to win, you had to score or at least approach the perfect 10. And the way that we got the last 0.6 of a point to carry us from the 9.4 to the perfect 10 was through fulfilling a judging category that we would call ROV. It stood for risk, originality, and virtuosity. I got 0.2 of a point for doing an element that's considered risky, 0.2 of a point for being innovative or creative, and then 0.2 of a point for showing great virtuosity. I'm going to break those three things down for you this morning. First of all, I get 0.2 of a point for doing something with risk, which means that you have to do a skill that's either really dangerous, which is a lot of fun, or it's difficult to perform successfully in a competition. Let me show you a risky skill on the pommel horse when I was competing. I'm going to do some double leg circles here on the pommels. Those are the circles with my legs together. Then the flares with my legs apart. That's the stuff that looks like breakdancing. I'll do some flares, bring my legs back together, travel down to the end of the horse, do another flare, turn. I know you're all taking notes. And then go up to a handstand on one arm for my dismount. The judge sees that in competition, hopefully, and says, Well, that's really hard. I'm going to give him risk points. 2 more tenths of a point for risk raises my score from a 9.4 with the difficulty fulfilled to a 9.6 with the risk. Not quite the perfect 10, but we're going to get there today. So first, let me show you this risky skill. Thank you. Can I be honest with you? I'm kind of excited about that because sometimes I don't make it and I fall in front of lots of people, and I hate that. But I gave a presentation once. It was to an Olympic sponsor. I was in Atlanta, about 1,200 people there, and I was doing my dismount. And as I traveled down across the horse, my hand slipped off the horse. I did kind of a sideways backflip, spectacular crash. 5-point landing, its feet, hands, and head backwards. Here's the brilliant recovery. So I picked up the microphone and I said, yeah, that was an intentional illustration of just how risky that really is. And I'm going to show it to you correctly now. And I got up and I fell off again. So made it for Sean today. Good boy. Now, I got to do that skill or something like that skill because it's written in the rule book that you got to take some chances. Now, you can play it safe, leave out all the risky skills, pretty much then guarantee an excellent score, maybe even as high as a 9.8. That's a great score. But as you know, there's always someone else out there that's willing to take those chances. And sure, he may blow it, but if he makes that skill successfully, along with everything else, you can guarantee he's going to beat me. I don't have a choice. The only problem is, taking risks in my sport involves making mistakes. If you do the big crazy skills over and over again, the law of averages says that every once in a while, you're going to fall off. But that's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fail, so long as we learn from those mistakes. And yet these learning moments are sometimes very painful ones. I was competing once in the World Championships. It was in Budapest, Hungary, about 6 months before the Olympics. Going into the horizontal bar finals, you all know what the high bar is, right? It's that single metal bar about 9 feet above the ground. Going into high bar finals, I was in second place, ahead of all the Russian and Chinese gymnasts. There was a great gymnast from Japan ahead of me. What got me into the finals was a risky combination of skills, hard to describe, but it's one where I swing around the bar, I let go of the bar, I fly straight up over the bar, do a half turn, straddle my legs, come back down, catch the bar, I immediately let go again, do a backflip with a half turn in the pike position, come back down, and catch the bar again. Trust me, it's hard. I made it in the preliminary round of competition, got a great score. In the warm-up session, before the final round, where I'm supposed to go for the gold medal on high bar, all of a sudden I can't do this combination of skills successfully. I start to worry, start to panic, looked at my coach and I said, hey, you got to help me. I got 15 minutes of this competition starts. I can't do this skill right. What is wrong here? This is my only risky trick. I have to do this. Oh, let me take a look at it, Peter. Oh, just pike more in the swing. Arch more through the bottom this time. Try that instead. Let go of the bar a little bit later. All these wonderful, valid coaching tips till I got the ultimate coaching, teaching, and leadership wisdom. We've all heard it before. Maybe you dished it out. But just do it right. And for a moment, I thought, forget it. I'm not going to do it at all. I'm going to leave it out. So what? I won't get the risk points. Who cares? It's only 2/10 of a point. I can still score a 9.8 with everything else. That's a great score. That should be enough to put me on the victory stand, which was the goal in the first place. But I knew it wasn't enough to put me on top of the victory stand. See, if I left that skill out, if I scored even as high as a 9.8, I knew in that competition that might be enough for the bronze medal. With a ton of luck, the silver. But realistically, I'm not going to win that gold medal without doing that skill. Because other guys in the finals are taking some chances, pushing the envelope. At least one of them will be successful with his big trick. He's going to end up on top. And as soon as I realized it, I thought, wait a second. This could be the only chance I ever have in my life to become a world champion at anything. And I'm going to play it safe and guarantee that I don't become one. Might as well fall off trying. Looked at my coach and I said, I'm going to go for it. I said, okay, let's do it. So really focusing on what I had to do. The guy that was in first place blew it, made a mistake. All I have to do now is make this performance successfully. I will become the world horizontal bar champion. Kind of a neat thing. So I chalk up my hands, signal the superior judge, and the big risky skill that I described comes at the beginning. Swing around the bar, let go of the bar, flew straight up over the bar, half turn, straddled my legs, came back down, caught the bar. I immediately let go again, did that backflip with a half turn in the pike position, came back down to catch the bar, and the bar wasn't there. Okay, look, I know you're not gymnasts, but you're all educated enough about my sport to know this. You're only allowed to do one dismount in each performance. So I missed the bar, dropped about 12 feet on my stomach, hit the mat, got back up, grabbed the bar, finished my routine, landed my real dismount perfectly. Big deal. Jumped off the platform, walked away, grabbed my bag, left the arena, and I was devastated. I blew it. I choked under pressure. I failed. And why World of Sports to make it worse? I think I placed something like 8th in the world. It's not too... Yeah. There were only 8 people in the competition. So I'm walking back from the arena to the hotel, and I'm all alone because nobody wanted to talk to me. And about halfway there, I stopped and I promised myself something that went from here right down to here. Nobody heard this but me. It wasn't this dramatic sports moment. But I meant it when I said it to myself. I just said, never again. I will never make that mistake again. I got to stop taking that skill for granted. Because I train that skill like everything else I do in gymnastics. Think about all the guys and girls you saw competing in my sport a few months ago in London. Think of those that are now getting ready for the next Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro in 2016. Realize that for the months that precede their Olympic experience, anytime a gymnast walks into the gym to train, he or she may have over 100 separate individual skills that comprise the routines you see them performing at the Games, and they have to perfect every one of those skills. Not do them well, they have to perfect every one of those skills. Some are easy, some are really hard. And it's easy sometimes to say, well, you know what? I don't have time to give extra focused attention to some little problem just because it needs it. Do I? I had to. So for the next 6 or 7 months leading up to the Games, almost every day, I go back to that horizontal bar, work a little bit extra on that risky release move that I tried to describe to you. And fortunately for me, that event, the high bar, was one of the events in which I ended up scoring a perfect 10 at the Olympic Games. So looking back, it's a lot easier looking back, I can say, well, gee, I am so glad that I failed. I am. It wasn't fun when it happened. I hated the experience. But I'm glad it happened because it taught me to really focus on those things I had to work on to really get better. Had I never made the mistake, I probably would have continued to do the same things I was doing, take that skill for granted, not trained it appropriately, then very easily, under much greater pressure, I could have fallen off high bar at the Olympic Games. And you'd have an ex-baseball player speaking to you right now. Wouldn't be me. So instead, I blew it. And what I learned from that experience, even more important, is those little extra things that we do every day. Like my choosing to go back to work on that high bar, those little extra efforts make a big, big difference. They don't make a little difference, they make a big difference. If we're consistent with those efforts every day. It's one thing for me to be upset because, hey, I crashed and burned at the World Championships. And so for the next 2 weeks, I go back into that gym and I work a little harder. But if after a couple of weeks, my memory of the crash, memory of the failure, memory of that disappointment, the memory of that commitment I made to do better next time, if all those things fade in my mind and I fall back into the same old patterns of behavior I had before, it doesn't do me any good. It's like most New Year's resolutions. They're essentially worthless. But if for the next 6 months or the next year, I do change my behavior, then it makes a big difference. We get lots of feedback growing up from people with good intentions who love to exaggerate to get their point across. You know, you better work twice as hard if you think you're going to make this team, and you better study twice as hard if you want to get better grades. So we get it pounded into us that in order to really improve, it's going to take a superhuman effort. And if I'm already working hard and I get feedback like that, that's discouraging. But look at the results of any competition in any Olympic Games in the last 100 plus years. Realize just how much or how little people win by. You realize that they don't win by much. Gee, maybe the best don't work twice as hard as the rest. Let me just give you a few examples of people that I know. You know, back when I competed, they held in those Olympic Games the first ever women's cycling road race competition. Connie Carpenter-Finney, who's a friend of mine, won the gold medal, defeating her teammate at the end of the race. Connie's husband, Davis Finney, was a multiple stage winner of the Tour de France, and they have a son, Taylor Finney, who's the hottest cycling star right now in the States. He was fourth. I think he's only 19 years old. Fourth in the road race in London. Just missed a medal. Fourth in the time trial in London. But a great athlete. But Connie won the gold medal in the road race in 1984 and defeated her teammate Rebecca Twigg in the race. Now this is a mass start cycling event. So over 100 riders at the start line. 79.2 kilometers was the distance of the race, so roughly 50 miles on a bicycle. The difference between first place and second place, after 50 miles for the Olympic gold medal, was 1 inch. I don't know if you can imagine training for years and years for an Olympic gold medal, and if after 50 miles you lose by that much, but that's a real drag. Track and field. I've been to, you're going to hate me, I've been to 10 Olympic Games, 8 summer and 2 winter games, wearing a couple hats, one as chairman of USA Gymnastics, but also as a journalist. And so in the work that I've been doing, I've been able to have, this is where you'll hate me, an all-access pass issued by NBC. Now you hate me, but it's awesome. And it gets me into everything. So when I'm not covering gymnastics, I can go to whatever I want. So I saw Usain Bolt run, and it's unbelievable to see someone so dominant in an event that takes so little time. And you saw the margins of victory he had in London and also 4 years earlier in Beijing. Well, 4 years earlier than that was a different story. In 2004 in Athens, it was the most closely contested 100 meters in Olympics history. Justin Gatlin, who raced in London, Justin Gatlin won the gold medal in 2004. And the difference between his gold medal winning time and 4th place. So the difference between a gold medal and no medal at all was 4/100ths of a second. That's 4 guys from, no, that's too long. No. Gold nothing. Swimming. That's the one event that my past didn't give me all the access to, because every journalist in the world wanted to watch Michael Phelps. And since there were 16,000 journalists, you just couldn't fit them all in. And so you had to have a ticket too. So I was only able to go to 1 day of swimming, and it was in Beijing. I actually went with Janet Evans, a neighbor and a friend of mine, the great woman swimmer, world record holder. In fact, we saw her last world record fall at this night that we went to go watch the race, some of the races. But I was there for the night, if you remember this, of the men's 100-meter butterfly final. So I had, and I sat in a section of seats with the journalists where it was right at the, so I'm looking right at the end of the pool, right where the finish is. You could see the swimmers come in and finish. It was the best seat in the house. And so I thought, this is going to be a great race. So I pulled out my camera and put it on video mode to break all the broadcast copyright laws. And I pushed start and got the whole race. And if you remember the race, I know it was a few years ago, if you remember the race, as Michael Phelps is coming in, you could see that Milorad Kovic of Croatia is beating him. And it looks like he's going to win the race. I'm thinking, no. And they touched the wall, and I thought, oh man, the one time I come and he doesn't win. It's all about me. And yet, since you have that electronic sensor in the pool, they figure out who touched the wall first, the scoreboard flashes up, first place gold medal, Michael Phelps. And the jaw of every journalist there was unhinged. They could not believe he came from behind and won the gold medal. He won that race by 1/100th of a second. Now you may have seen a photographer from Sports Illustrated got permission to put a fisheye lens at the bottom of the pool. And so the photograph of the finish was in a spread in Sports Illustrated. And you could see, as Michael Phelps is reaching and as he's touching the wall, you could see that Milorad Kovic is almost, but not quite there. It's an incredible photograph. I was reading a magazine article before the Olympics. It was about technology at the Olympics. They use as an example the construction of the swimming pool for the Olympics. And they use lasers to measure this. But for those of you that have ever swum competitively, you're familiar with this. You know, as I said earlier, what stops the clock is the contact with an electronic sensor at the end of the pool, right? Well, they said that when they build the pool, they have to make sure that the distance between that sensor and the other wall, that those distances are exactly equal in each lane. Not kind of, sort of, hopefully, maybe almost equal. Exactly equal. Because they said that 1/100th of a second in a swimming race could mean the difference between one extra coating of paint at the end of the pool. So that means, I guess, that Kovic that day lost the gold medal by that much. There it is right there. That's what he lost by. You know what else that means? That means that if he hadn't clipped his fingernails the night before the race, the dude would be an Olympic champion. That's why Speedo makes acrylic nails for guys that are that long now. They all wear them. I'm just kidding. But folks, these examples go on and on. I know that this is obvious to the point of being offensive to all of us. I know. No one wins by running twice as fast, jumping twice as far, scoring twice as many points as the next guy or girl. They win by fractions of a second or an inch or a point. So we take all these champions, put them back on the track, the bike, the pool for these hours and days and weeks and months and years before the games and ask, well, for them to be the best, did they work twice as hard as the rest? And the answer, of course, is no. That's impossible. If a gymnast trains 6 hours every day, I'm not going to train 12 hours a day to make sure that I win. My body will fall apart. It's counterproductive. It doesn't work that way. But I can train 6 hours and 15 minutes a day. And that was a very simple theme of my training. I knew I could never work twice as hard as Mitch Gaylord or Tim Daggett. Those are two guys that I train with every day. All three of us together trained in the same gym, and all three of us together made the Olympic team. Those guys work hard. You can't work twice as hard as them. But if I set my mind to it, I thought maybe I could work about that much harder, that much smarter. So I used to have a goal. This is a very noble goal, to be the last person out of the gym at the end of each day, which is pretty hard to do when the rest of the team has that same stupid goal. So workouts were long. But every once in a while, I could outlast those guys. I'd be in an empty gym by myself 15, 20 more minutes just to work about that much harder, that much smarter. And I use 15 minutes a day purely as an example because I think it's so easy to take a small increment of time, like 15 minutes a day, and blow it off as something worthless. I mean, come on, Peter, give me a break. You're going to tell me that 15 minutes a day has got some major impact on my life. Please. Well, 15 minutes a day, every day for 1 year adds up to over 91 hours. If an athlete trains in a sport for 3 hours a day, and he or she chooses to train an extra 15 minutes a day, after 1 year, that's an extra 91 hours. See, that's an extra month of training every year based on a 3-hour-a-day workout schedule. I know that when I walked into any World Championship event, I always wished I had an extra month to get ready for it, but it was always too late. A little extra effort, at least what I do, make a big difference if we're consistent with those efforts every day. And especially for those things that might require more of my time and focused attention, I go back to the horizontal bar, work a little bit extra on that risky release move that I try to describe to you. Now, that is risk-taking in my sport. It involves failing, it involves blowing it, but that's okay so long as we learn from those mistakes. If you ever go to a gymnastics competition and you want to know what the risky skills are, just listen to the crowd. Anytime you hear an ooh or an ah, and it's not a crash, those are the risky skills. Originality is somewhat different, fairly self-explanatory, right? That means that I do something new, maybe something that nobody else has ever done before, and that's the most exciting part of my sport. I mean, think about it. For me to be in a gym, to be working on some sort of gymnastic skill that just maybe nobody else has ever done before. That's exciting. Until you stop and ask yourself this question. Why is nobody else trying this? And you think maybe they have, but they haven't survived. Let me show you an original skill that I used on pommel horse at the Olympics. You saw my dismount where at the end I went up to a handstand on one arm, and then I got off the horse and landed on my feet, right? Well, back when I was competing, going up to the handstand position on the pommel horse was kind of the new trend on this equipment. Only in the past couple of years had a gymnast figured out a way to go to a handstand on the pommel horse. But the only time he would go up to the handstand was at the end of the routine because he couldn't figure out a way to get down from the handstand without physically getting off of the horse. So the handstand was always the dismount, the last skill. And if a judge saw the handstand, he knew instinctively that the routine was over. Put his head down, add up the score. I thought, well, what if I could fool the judge? What if I could figure out a way to do one of those handstand things and don't get off? Stay on the horse somehow. And that's basically what I did. I'm going to show you in a moment where I'll do some circles. I'm going to swing out of the end. I'm going to go up to the handstand like the dismount that I showed you. Then I'm going to drop from the handstand to the center of the horse into my scissor sequence. That's that pendulum swing that we do back and forth with our legs apart. That's a required skill. The first time I did this unique break, as we call it, into my scissor sequence, I really surprised the judge because I did it at the beginning of the routine. I chalk up my hands, I signal the judge, I jump up there, I swing around, I go right to a handstand. The judge thought, what happened to Vidmar? Oh, he just freaked out. The guy forgot his routine, he's getting off. I'm going to kill him. He's excited, 2.3. And he looks back up and I'm still going. My score jumped about 0.2 of a point consistently from what it had been in the past just by adding this little original skill. So I'm going to show it to you. I've got to prepare you there. What you're going to see right now is not one of those gymnastics skills that makes the audience go, ooh or ah. This is not very exciting stuff that I'm going to show you here. Sorry. But it doesn't have to be. It's just something new. And a judge sees something new and he says, wow, I've never seen that before. I like that. That makes a difference to me. 2.2 of a point for originality raises my score now, along with the risk, to a 9.8. So we're almost the perfect 10. So let me show you now this original but uneventful skill. Up to the handstand and back down. 2.2 of a point for originality raises my score now, along with the risk, to a 9.8. So we're almost the perfect 10. So let me show you now this original but uneventful skill. Up to the handstand and back down. 2.2 of a point for originality raises my score now, along with the risk, to a 9.8. So we're almost the perfect 10. So let me show you now this original but uneventful skill. Up to the handstand and back down. Yeah. Thanks for the courtesy, ooze. Appreciate it. You know, usually, at least, the ooze come from the men in the front row that say, ooh. Anyways, I think the key to originality, the key to innovation, the key to creativity in my sport is stop watching the other guy. Now, I have to know where the trends in my sport are going. Part of that knowledge comes from knowing who the competition is and what they do. I can learn from that. But I can't base your pattern my performances always after someone else. My goal, if you think about it, is try to get to the point where everybody else is watching me, where I'm the standard. That's not easy, but that's the goal. And one of the things that we had to do as a team was we had to stop playing the game called catch-up, and I'm sure you can tell what that is. We would go to these big events, overseas, World Cup, World Championship, walk into the gym for the training sessions that precede the event. Look across the gym. See a great gymnast from China or Russia jump up on the rings of the parallel bars and do something that we've never seen before. And we'd say, wow, hey, did you see that? What a great skill. Oh, why didn't I think of that? Run back to the gym the next week, and we learn it sometimes just like that, no problem. And we say, it wasn't even that hard. Come back the next important competition, this time fairly impressed with ourselves because, no, I can do that skill, and you're not so tough. Walk in the gym, look across the gym, see the same guys, same on the rings, high bar, pommel horse, whatever, do something even more innovative and unique, and we'd say, wow, did you see that? What a great skill. Oh, why didn't I think of that? Run back to the gym the next week, learn sometimes again, just like that, and it's always too late. They get originality points, we get nothing, we're just being copycats, doing just what it takes to keep our heads above water. One of the reasons why our team won the Olympic team gold medal was every member of our team stopped playing catch-up, did things on our own that were unique and original. Perfect example of that. Wish I had a film to show you. My teammate, Mitch Gaylord on the high bar, did an amazing skill. It's called the Gaylord flip. It's named after him. It's hard to describe, but from a giant swing backwards, you know what a giant is, right? So you swing around in the handstand position. From a giant swing backwards, Mitch lets go of the bar at the top of the swing. He does a 1.5 somersault with a half turn in the pike position over the bar. So at the peak, he's about 14 feet above the ground, comes back around and catches the bar on the other side on the way down. In fact, if Mitch comes down to catch the bar and the bar's not there for him, it's a really ugly experience. It's a spectacular crash. He did this in 1984. He caught it successfully in 2 separate rounds of competition, and the judges gave him full credit for risk, originality, and virtuosity for one single skill, and he was way ahead of his time. 28 years later, and I was there, I saw every high bar routine. No one even attempted Mitch's skill except for one guy, Epke Zonderland of the Netherlands, who won the gold medal. He did a lot more crazy stuff in the routine as well as the Gaylord flip, but it was an amazing performance of his. But he was the only guy that even tried Mitch's skill. That's astounding in our sport, for a skill to last that long. Now, it took Mitch a long time to develop the skill, right? He didn't just walk in the gym one day and say, I got a great idea, guys. Watch this. It's not like that. It's more like, I got a great idea. I wonder if it's possible. So he starts by taking advantage of the various safety devices we use in our sport. You're familiar with spotting belts? You've seen those? We have these padded belts that are connected by ropes that are attached to pulley systems on the ceiling. So that right before your face slams into that metal pipe, the coach pulls on the rope. And hopefully the coach weighs more than you do. So he tries it first with a spotting belt. Actually, think about a spotting belt for a second. You know, Mitch needs a tremendous amount of centripetal acceleration to be able to do this skill successfully and with amplitude. So he has to do a certain number of these giant swings to get the momentum to do it. But he's got a rope attached to his waist connected to the ceiling, which means that before he does the skill, you have to take the rope and wrap the rope around the bar in the opposite direction of the giant swing, the number of times equal to the number of swings he plans on doing before he lets go of the bar. So, if you let go one swing too early or one swing too late, you become a human yo-yo. It's funny if you saw it. It has nothing to do with my talk, though. Anyways, so he tries it first with a spotting belt. What he's comfortable doing with the belt, he'll take it off and do it free, but to be safe, he'll do it over a foam pit. That's where the floor is sunk into the ground, and it's filled up with thousands of cubes of foam rubber, so he can kind of land on his face, come up smiling. And then comes the moment of truth. No spotting belt, no foam pit, just a mat, and a coach standing below who may or may not catch him. And the point is this: it took a long time into coming into fruition. For Mitch, about a year. Working on it every day, not knowing if he could even use it at the Olympic Games. 2 days before the Games began, he caught it about 75% of the time in practice, and only then did our head coach, A.B. Grossfield, say, Mitch, okay, you can do it. And he did it, and he made history. But the point is this, it took a long time into coming into fruition. That's usually how it is. When you go into uncharted territory, it can be a very time-consuming process because you simply don't know what the consequences are. So we tend to approach these things with more caution, and that makes sense. Every once in a while, it doesn't take a year like it did with Mitch. Every once in a while, you learn something new in a much shorter amount of time, maybe even as brief as a fraction of a second. That's when it happens by accident. It happened to me once. I'm competing in an event in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, about 2 or 3 months before the Olympic Games. And I was doing on the pommel horse the routine that I wanted to use at the Olympics, and I got to be honest with you, I felt great. Everything went exactly according to plan. Until the end, where I go up to the handstand on one arm that I showed you earlier. As I went up to the handstand on one arm, the one arm starts to slip off the horse. The next thing to hit the horse is my face. I hate it when that happens. So I quickly threw my left hand back on the horse, pushed over to the other side, landed on my feet. Big mistake. Now, you saw my dismount earlier. I landed facing this way. I'm now looking at the other side of the arena. I have no idea how I got there. The gymnastics protocol, watch my sport on television, notice this. You never see the gymnasts do this. They never land or dismount, and they just turn and walk away. No. The unwritten rule is that you land your dismount, turn and look at the superior judge, and acknowledge him eye to eye before you walk off the apparatus. But that's the last thing in the world I wanted to do. So I'm standing at attention, and I thought, oh no. Rolled my eyes back, thought, oh great. Turned to look at the superior judge, and decided to take a chance and acknowledge him as if maybe he was briefly blinded and just never saw the mistake. Yeah! I ran off. I high-fived my coach. Yes! I waved to the crowd, sat down, said, I can't believe I just did that. And my coach looks at me and says, what happened? I know what happened. My hand was slipping off the horse. Almost hit my face. Didn't want to do that. Then I started to complain. I said, look, you know what? I got 2 months until the Olympic Games, and I'm still falling off pommel horse. I can't afford mistakes. The judges are going to kill me. I'm mad. I'm frustrated. I stop. I wait. I brace myself for the worst. Looked at my score. 9.9. That's a really good score. Head judge walks up to me after the event, clipboard in his hand, says, hey, Pete, you know, I really like the new pommel horse routine, especially that dismount. I've never seen it before. Gee, neither have I. My coach looks at me straight-faced and says, let's use it. What? Let's use it. I don't even know what I did. I think I know. I watched. I liked it. Great. So for the next 2 months, I worked on that skill, made it look nice, used it at the Olympic Games, scored 2 perfect 10s on pommel horse, and won the gold medal here at the Games. Certainly not because of that skill, but every little bit helps. And sometimes, you know what? You trip and you fall over really good ideas or great opportunities. And if we're alert, we identify them for what they are or what they could be, pick them up and use them to our advantage. Now, I got to be honest with you, most of the skills I've learned in a nanosecond are never worthy of being attempted again, but that one was very exciting. That's originality. Stop playing catch-up. Stop watching everybody else. Do things on your own that you know are going to make a difference. Final category is called virtuosity. Virtuosity means that you take a skill or a combination of skills that may or may not be risky or original. It might be something that everyone can do, something everyone does, but you have figured out a way to do it better. That might mean doing something with more amplitude, more extension, more artistry, so that the judge looks at that skill this time and says, wow, I've seen that done before, but not like that. I like the way he does that. 2 more tenths of a point for virtuosity raises my score now to that perfect 10. This is probably the most difficult category for me to describe or to show you visually here on the pommel horse. So I'm going to exaggerate for you. To show you some basic skills. I'm going to do some double leg circles with my legs together and the flares with my legs apart. Now, I'll have good form, legs straight, toes pointed and all. But I will not do these 2 series of skills with virtuosity. I'll get down, get back up, then do the same 2 series of skills, but with virtuosity. I'll extend more in the circles, probably swing a little faster, split my legs wider on the flares. And hopefully, you can tell the difference between the first time without virtuosity and the next time with virtuosity. So first, without virtuosity, circles and flares. That was, yeah, that was unvirtuous, as I could tell by the thunderous applause. Gee, should we applaud? I don't know, it didn't look that good to me. No, I know. Me neither, but he's our guest. Let's, yeah. Thanks. Experts. Okay. Just kidding. Okay, same skills, but this time with virtuosity. Thank you. Virtuosity basically means that the athlete approaches perfection. Doesn't mean that he or she is perfect, but it might mean that maybe they just did something better than it's been done before, or as good as that judge thinks it can be done. I think the key to perfecting something in my sport is probably the most unglamorous, boring, monotonous part of gymnastics or of any activity. I think you'll agree with me. It's called repetition, 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 and that's not fun. No offense to any swimmers out here, but it's like swimming laps. It's really boring, same thing over and over again. Yet if I can figure out a way to make my daily tasks fun or exciting, I'm going to improve. If I do something on the pommel horse the 1,000th time with as much focused attention to detail and as much enthusiasm as I did the very first time, I'm going to be a better gymnast. And that is easy. It's really easy when we feel like it, right? It's really easy to put forth effort when you like what you do, when you're good at it, when you're having fun, having a good day, when you get results, especially instant results. I like those. It's always more difficult when we don't feel like it, when we're not having a good day, when we're tired, when the results aren't there immediately. And yet those days were the most important days of my gymnastics. Every gymnast that I train with, every human being on this planet is always, always very focused, very diligent at something when he or she wants to be. But the best that I was able to observe, and I was lucky, I got to train daily with the best. They always seem to figure out a way to really focus when they didn't feel like it, when it's just plain inconvenient to put forth any more effort. I thought if I could become more like them, that's when I'll improve. That's when I'll make gains relative to the other guy, whoever it is. But more importantly, that's when I'll gain the character I might need to be able to handle something that's as important to me and as stressful as the Olympic Games. And I think I figured out a way to do that with my teammate, Tim Daggett. Before I finish by telling you about Tim, to drive this example home a little bit more powerfully, I used to be a consultant for what is now the Franklin Covey organization. I used to teach their comprehensive time and stress management seminars years ago. What I liked about the seminar is it tries to teach you and I that when we place a high enough value on something, we're going to figure out a way to get it done, no matter how unpleasant the process may be to get there. And the example I'm going to give you is not new. If you've heard it before, I apologize. But I'm going to put it in gymnastics context for you. So can I just see, I don't know if we can bring the lights up just a little bit, but by show of hands, all parents of young children under the age of 5. Can I see here? Okay, great. Ma'am, can I pick on you? Your hand went up first. Is that okay? In the gold, yeah. Yeah, right there. Great. What's your name? Jeanette. What's your youngest child's name, Jeanette? Katie. Awesome. And how old's Katie? 4. Good, that's under 5. No, I spoke to a bank in Phoenix once. Asked for a parent of a child under 5. A mother raised her hand and I picked on her. Her child was 6. She works for a bank. Okay. Jeanette, you know what a balance beam is, right? You know what a balance beam is, right? It's 4 inches wide, it's 16 feet long, it's 4.5 feet off the ground. It's amazing. My daughter is a collegiate gymnast. It's amazing what she can do on the balance beam, and I'm so glad guys don't do beam. But suppose we had a beam, Jeanette, that ran the length of the Performing Arts Center out in front on the street. A long, long balance beam. So let's say it's 200 yards long. We're going to take the stands off the beam, though. We're going to lower it so it's on the pavement. It's on the ground. Still 4 inches wide, but it's right there on the ground. Pardon me? Oh, she does that with curbs. There you go. Well, this is you now, though. This is not Katie. This is you. So you're at one end of the beam. I'm at the other end of the beam. I have in my hands a $100 bill. And if you walk across this 4-inch beam, which is on the ground, you can have it. Would you try it, Jeanette? Yeah, and I bet she'd make it, too. Are you a gymnast, Jeanette? Were you? Oh, a diver. Oh, gosh. I don't want to go head first in anything. Okay. So I hand Jeanette $100. She says, that was easy, right? Let's do it again. And Jeanette, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? You grew up in this area? Oh, pardon me? Flint? Okay. You ever been to the Grand Canyon? You have? Good. Who's been to the Grand Canyon? Okay, great. You can picture this, and you can too, Jeanette. We're going to take this beam into the back of a truck. It's a big truck. We're going to ship it down to the Grand Canyon. We're going to find the deepest section of the canyon, Jeanette, and we're going to extend that beam if we have to so it spans the canyon from one point to the other. Now, from the top of the beam to the bottom of the canyon floor, it's a mile, tops. You're at one end of the beam. I'm at the other end of the beam. I have in my hands a $100 bill. And if you walk across the room now, it's all yours. Would you try it now? It's this wide. No, you don't get a balance bar. No, that's a good answer. All right, now what? I'm getting nervous with this girl. So, what does reality say? Reality says that Jeanette can do it. She just proved to us she could do it at any height when she did it on the ground. I'm sure Jeanette's perceptions of the situation have changed immensely. I'm sure she can imagine getting halfway across, wind picks up. Not so much the fall that bugs Jeanette, it's that sudden deceleration at the end. Jeanette, I got $10,000. Once you start, you can't stop. If you slip, my friend, you are unidentifiable. And it's this wide. And it's a mile down. Is it worth it to give it a shot? Yeah. No way. Okay, wait a second. $1 million now, Jeanette, and leave your husband out of this. This is your decision. Go. He's not here, all right? Okay. $1 million. Now, it's all yours, but you know, one of those desert storms are rolling through, and there's a pounding rain, 80-mile-an-hour winds, and by the way, those beams are really slippery when they're wet. Is it worth it? Look down. Okay. No more Mr. Nice Guy, Jeanette. I'm not Peter Vidmar anymore. This time I'm a bad, rotten to the core human being. I got little Katie. Ada, if you don't walk across the beam, Jeanette, I'm going to let go of her. You walk across the beam now? Yes. I better not be there when you get there, too, right? She says, I'm going to kill the guy in tights. All of a sudden, there's something on the end of that beam that makes it worth it for Jeanette to cross the beam. And it may not be a pleasant experience. It sounds to me like a pretty awful thing to do. She does it anyways. Why? Because it matters. There's something on the other side that makes it worth it for her to do this very difficult, challenging thing. I use Jeanette in my example because Katie's 4. Katie's 4. I've learned, sadly, over the years, this example doesn't work for the parents of teenagers. Got your 16-year-old son. I'm holding him by his left eyebrow ring. And if you know what, go ahead and drop, man. I really don't care right now. So, I got 5 kids. I walk for all of them. So, anyways, sheesh. Thanks for helping me out, Katie. You know, there's nothing worse than doing an audience interaction example and not have it work, right? I got to pick on someone who I hope's going to give me the answers I'm looking for. Thank goodness. I thought with Jeanette I was going to get nervous there. But you know, I got to pick on someone who looks rational. No offense to those of you that I didn't pick. But I spoke to an audience. Who was it? Oh boy, it was an audience. Xerox Corporation, Bay Area, San Francisco. 200 people or so in the audience, classroom setting. I picked on a mother of a child who was off to my right, who looked rational. Offered her $100 to walk across the beam that's on the ground. She said yes. Move the beam to the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon. Offered her $100. And very matter-of-fact, like, with enthusiasm, she says, oh, I'm walking. What? She says, I'm walking. I said, what do you mean you're walking? She says, I'm walking. I said, why? They don't pay you here? And this is a lesson on perception. She says, I'm a rock climber. I've been climbing granite walls in Yosemite for 12 years, and I am just not afraid of heights. I think it'd be a thrill. I'm in. Okay, folks, I've never thought this through. I've got no comeback. So I'm staring at Wonder Woman going, I turned to some other guys not paying attention. I said, hey, would you do it? And the guy says, no, I wouldn't do it. Great, move over to him back on track, right? This guy waits at the very end of my example to say this. I don't have any children. So the audience that day had no clue why I brought this stupid balance beam example up. Hopefully you will when I explain this. When I walk in the gym at the beginning of the day, I'm fired up. I'm going to work hard. Why? Olympics are coming up. And as far as I'm concerned, these imaginary beams that we all have to cross every day, because you do, they're on the ground. But at the end of the day, when I'm tired, when I'm beat, when I want to go home, where's that beam now? It's way up there. And you better put something pretty important on the end of that beam to make me want to cross the beam when I don't feel like it. Even though the task I may be involved in at the end of a long, tiring day might be identical to what I was doing at the beginning of the day, it's more difficult to do it when the motivation has vanished. Does that make sense? So I trained with a guy named Tim Daggett. If you watch my sport on television, Tim is he's the announcer for NBC Sports. Does a great job. He was my roommate at UCLA. Great guy. My oldest son, Timothy, is named after him. His oldest son is named Peter. I know it's obnoxious, but we're good friends. He's a great guy. Anyways. We used to walk in the gym every day, fired up, ready to work. Olympics are coming up, we're going to work hard. And our first event of the day was almost always the floor exercise. That's that 40 by 40 foot mat that we tumble and flip around on. Now, as I'm talking to you about virtuosity, I'm telling you we're trying to perfect what we do. The key is repetition. We do lots of routines over and over and over again. Finish all of our floor routines. We're going to huff and puff and say, come on, man. Okay, keep going. Okay, Olympics are coming up. Yeah, Olympics are coming up. So go to the pommel horse. That's our best event. Tim and I both medaled on pommel horse at the games. Repetition over and over and over again. Finish all of our pommel horse routines. Say, come on, man. Okay, keep going. Okay, Olympics are coming up. Yeah, Olympics are coming up. So go to the rings. We do our ring routines over and over again. Finish all of our ring routines. Now we're getting kind of tired, but we're only halfway done because there's 6 events in men's gymnastics. We have 3 more to go. Come on, okay, keep going. Okay, Olympics are coming up. Yeah, Olympics are coming up. So go to the vault. Run down that runway, hit that board, flip up over the horse. We do vault after vault after vault. Finish all of our vaults. Say, come on, man. Gotta keep going. Okay, Olympics are soon. Try to stay excited. Go to parallel bars. Do our parallel bar routines over and over again. Finish all of our parallel bar routines. And then we go to the last event of the day, the horizontal bar. And guess what? We're not as excited as you were at the beginning of the day. I mean, chances are we've been in the gym now for 6 hours easily. And yet the last performance of the day on the horizontal bar is just as important as the first one of the day on the floor exercise. They're both worth 10 points. No more, no less. How we feel about it's irrelevant. Your last member that walks into your office at the end of a day, just as important as the first one at the beginning of the day. How he feels irrelevant. I got to get excited about what I do and be good at it, especially now when I don't want to. So at this point, we kind of have to put some pressure on. So many times I look at Tim or he'd look at me, and we'd say this. Now, folks, we did this a lot. This is the end of the day. There's 3 or 4 of us left in the gym. I look at Tim and say this. Hey, Tim, why are we here? What are we doing this for anyways, huh? What's the goal? And we identify it. Put it in that beam if we have to. And say, okay, I don't care how you feel. Is it still worth working for right now? Is it still worth it? And if we had a clear picture of that goal, the answer for us is always, yeah, it's still worth it. Make us focus about that much more. Okay, quickly, for those of us that are baseball fans, what would a baseball player say is worth working for under all circumstances? What is the ultimate baseball experience? Aside from free agency and arbitration, what is the ultimate game-time baseball experience? Doing what in the World Series? Winning how? Home run? Grand slam? Yeah, we all know what it really is. We know. Ultimate baseball experience. Final game of the series, tied at 3 games apiece, bottom of the 9th inning, down by 3 runs, bases are loaded, 2 outs, full count, and then you knock that ball out of the park. That to me is the ultimate baseball experience. Unless you're the pitcher. But you take any baseball player from age 3 to 53, if with some sort of a magic wand, you could promise him that experience. Bing, it's going to happen to you. But only if you really work hard right now. Will he really work hard right now? Well, of course. No, it's absurd. It's silly to think you could ever promise someone something like that. But if you could, wouldn't they figure out a way to get the job done, no matter how they felt? Well, here it is. At the end of the day, you know, I'm tired. My ankles are swollen. I tore 3 more blisters in my hand. My shoulder hurts. I feel sorry for myself. Gymnastics stopped being fun 2 hours ago. I want to go home. At this point, many times Tim and I would convince ourselves that we could have happened to us the ultimate gymnastics experience. Whether it's realistic or not, doesn't matter. We convince ourselves it is for that moment and say, what if? So I look at Tim and say this. Now, once again, end of the day, 3 or 4 of us left in the gym. I say, hey, Tim, let's put some pressure on, man. Okay, I don't care how you feel. Let's just imagine right now it's the Olympics. It's the men's team finals. The U.S. team's on their last event of the night. Just happens to be the horizontal bar because that's what we're working at the time. Let's just imagine that the last 2 guys have just happened to be Tim Daggett and Peter Vidmar. We haven't even made the team yet, so what? And here's the catch. This is where I thought it was funny. We start to laugh. I say, Tim, let's just imagine that we are neck and neck with the People's Republic of China, the reigning world champions. And we have to perform our routines right now perfectly to win the Olympic team gold medal. And we'd say, yeah, right. We're never going to be neck and neck with those guys. They were first in the world 6 months earlier in Budapest, where I had my unplanned departure from the horizontal bar I told you about. We were 4th as a team. Didn't even win a medal. Not going to happen. But what if? Would we be nervous? Excited? Yeah. So I'd walk over, chalk up my hands, and in this empty gym, I'd close my eyes and vividly imagine that I was in the Olympic arena. 15,000 people there, 2 billion watching me live on television. I have one chance to make this routine successfully, or we lose. And my heart starts to pound. I'm not tired anymore. Tim's over in the corner of the gym. He would say something like this. Next up, from the United States, Peter Vidmar. Just like the loudspeaker at the games, I'd imagine my name is called, get ready to go. Now, you don't perform when you feel like it in my sport. You go only when the judge allows you to perform. That's when he pushes a button that makes the green light go on and the guy raises his hand. And the longer you wait for the green light to go on, the more nervous you're going to get. Tim's over in the corner of the gym in charge of this imaginary green light. And after a long time of saying and doing nothing, trying to throw me off guard, waiting until maybe I least expected it, finally he would just shout, green light, because we never really had a green light in the gym, I had to say it. Anyways, and imagine the green light goes on, look at my coach, imagine my coach is the Olympic superior judge. He would raise his hand, I'd raise my hand right back, I'd turn, face that bar, grab that bar, and begin my routine. Now, if I fell off the bar there, if I made a mistake there, that ruined my day. I was miserable. Why? Because I placed importance in what I was doing. I didn't say, which I easily could have said at the end of a long, tiring day, I didn't say, so, Peter, you fell off the high bar. Who cares? It's a workout. No one's watching. Big deal. You're tired. It's just another day. Just go home. Go home. Just work hard tomorrow. Just work twice as hard tomorrow. Doesn't matter. No, it mattered. Felt like I lost the whole competition. Felt like I fell off that beam and it was way up there. Felt like somebody from NBC Sports is going to walk up to me now and say, well, Peter, you just lost the Olympic Games for your whole country. How do you feel? I'm going to Disney World. But if I made my routine successfully, I felt fantastic. I land my dismount, get all fired up, yes, drive home every day after a workout like that, say, wow, man, I just won the Olympics today. That was awesome. I'm going to do it again tomorrow. Got me excited. We did that for practice because we knew realistically, let's be real, it's not going to happen. But it's good practice because it taught us to focus, to be diligent in something when we didn't feel like it. Most important time to put forth effort. That's when we learn the most about ourselves. Well, a funny thing happened on July 31st, 1984, and I'll finish with this. It was the Olympics. It was the men's gymnastics team finals. The U.S. team was on their last event of the night. It just happened to be the horizontal bar. The last two guys that just happened to be Tim Daggett and Peter Vidmar, and here's the catch, and all of a sudden we weren't laughing because it really wasn't funny anymore. We were neck and neck with the People's Republic of China, the reigning world champions, and we had to perform our routines perfectly to win the Olympic team gold medal. Well, it's different now, but when I competed, there were 6 gymnasts per team, only 5 scores count, so if one guy makes a mistake, that's okay. Throw out the low score, count the 5 best scores. Follow me? I want to be great in accounting. First guy up, Scott Johnson, was the unheralded hero of our team as our leadoff man got us off to a tremendous start by getting great scores at the beginning from which the rest of the team scores can build. But after phenomenal games, Scott lets go of the high bar for his triple backflip dismount. 3 flips, folks, before he gets to the ground. 1, 2, on the 3rd flip, opened up about 3 degrees too soon, stumbled forward, touched his hands and knees on the ground, made a mistake. We thought, oh no, chances are next 5 routines are going to have to count. Pressure's on. Next guy goes up, Jim Hartung, Scott's teammate from the University of Nebraska, backbone of our team. This guy never makes mistakes under all this pressure, does a great job, lands his dismount, jumps off the podium or platform. Everything's raised up on a platform at the games. Runs around the platform. Jim heads straight over to me. Now, I have no idea why he singles me out, but he runs over to me. He's huffing and puffing. He's shouting above the crowd noise, taking off those leather handguards. Says, hey, Pete, don't worry about it, man. It's not that bad there. Just relax. Just enjoy yourself, okay? Just have a good time. Yeah. He was happy because he was done. Olympics are over for James. He scores a 9.8. Bart Conner goes the next, scores a 9.9. Mitch Gaylor does that crazy flip of his, catches the bar, 9.95. Tim Daggett goes up after Mitch. A couple skills he invented. His dismount was a double layout with a full twist on the second flip, which basically means that you don't see the ground until it hits you. He lands perfectly, and he scores. Perfect 10. And it was my turn. Told you 5 out of 6 scores count, didn't I? How many guys just performed? 5. Well, let's just take a peek at the first 5 scores and add them up, including Scott's routine with a little mistake. Add them all up just to see where we stand. Guess what? We just won the Olympic team gold medal. Forget me. We just won the gold medal. See, Scott's mistake wasn't really that bad. The other 4 scores were so phenomenally high they helped to offset Scott's mistake. Add them all up. That meant that even if the last 2 guys left from China, Li Ning and Tong Fei, their 2 best guys, if they score perfect 10s on their last event, it's not going to be good enough. So with 10's perfect 10, we had just secured the USA's first Olympic team gymnastics gold medal, male or female, since the 1904 Olympic Games in St. Louis. And that's when wooden club juggling, shot put, and long jump were 3 of the gymnastics events. And I'm not kidding. It's changed since then. But because it's locked up, this means that Peter Vidmar can fall off the high bar 58 times. We're still going to win the gold medal. And all of my teammates behind me, below the podium, all of them are done and happy, celebrating. But none of them, none of the coaches, and no other human being told me that we had just won. So I walk up there still thinking, oh, this is it, Peter, you don't make this, we're going to lose. Let me paint the picture for you now. The crowd's cheering wildly. Tim did a phenomenal job. They haven't given him a score yet. I can't go till he gets a score and I get the green light. So I'm pacing back and forth thinking, oh, I have got to make this routine. What are they so excited about? All of a sudden, Tim scores a 10, and the crowd goes nuts. I looked at Tim's perfect 10, and I said, yay, Tim. And then the green light went on. Right before the green light went on, I looked at my coach, this man that I'd been in the gym with for 12 years. He looked up at me and he gave me a smile. And he said one thing that went from here right down to here. He said, okay, Pete, let's go, all right? You know what to do. You've done this 1,000 times. Just like the end of every day back at the gym. Let's just do this one more time. Let's go home. You're ready. That's right. I'm prepared. I didn't wait till it was too late to figure out how to handle a situation like this. I did this every day at the end of every workout. So all of a sudden now, instead of standing in this Olympic arena with the 15,000 people there and the 2 billion on television, in my mind, put myself where? Back at that UCLA gym at the end of the day with maybe 3 people left in the gym. You see, I'm taking this imaginary balance beam, which is where right now? It's way up there. I don't want to cross this beam. I'm so nervous, I'm sick to my stomach. But in my mind, I lowered it back down to the floor because deep down inside, I knew I had what it took to do it. And in my mind, when I raised my hand and signaled the Olympic superior judge, Mr. Karl-Heinz Schacke of East Germany, a real friendly face since his athletes stayed home. In my mind, I'm signaling my coach, just like I used to signal him at the end of every day. Turn, face that bar, grab that bar, and began my routine. Now, we had a motto that's going to sound silly to you, but we lived by it, and it worked for us. The motto was this: practice as if it's competition, but compete as if it's practice. Every day, what you do and how you do it matters. There is no such thing as just another day, because practice makes permanent. Practice makes permanent. And what you practice over and over again will become permanent behavior practiced correctly. Every time in the gym, every day in the gym, I tried to imagine I was at the Olympic Games, give my absolute best effort. And so when I got to the games, I could imagine I was back at the gym, get those emotions to bounce out. I finished my routine, landed my dismount score at 9.95. That's when we knew for sure we won the gold medal. That's when you saw in the film that preceded me, one of my teammates kind of jumped up on top of me and messed up my hair. And that's when we knew for sure we won the gold medal. Got up on the victory stand for a very emotional medal ceremony. In fact, I never do this, but I had to bring them for an event on Wednesday. But these are the medals. And thank you. So this is the team gold medal. I went on to another gold in the Palm Wars, took the silver in the all-around. All events combined after 4 days of competition. I took the silver medal, lost to a gymnast from Japan by 25 1,000ths of a point, but who's counting? And yet those moments on the victory stand for the individual medals don't even come close to the emotions I felt standing out there with my teammates for that team gold medal. And yet people look at my sport all the time and they say, whoa, whoa, look, I know they give you a team medal, but come on, Peter, it's not a team sport. I mean, it's gymnastics. It's not like hockey or baseball or football. Where's the teamwork? It's nothing but a bunch of collective, individual performances. All you got to worry about is yourself. Peter Vidmar, you score a perfect 10, that's what's best for the team. Tim Daggett, you score a perfect 10, that's what's best for the team. Duh. You two guys could hate each other, just do your jobs, right? Hey, if I'm going to spend 6 or 7 hours a day in a gym with someone I can't get along with, I can't work together with, I can't take criticism from, share information with, pool resources with, is that going to make a difference when it matters? It's going to make a big difference. We pool the resources every day. Every day I knew I could depend on Mitch. I could depend on Tim to help me out. They could depend on me. As a result, that made us much better individuals at what we did. It helped us then as a group to rise above others. If you ever want help in life, you better be willing to give help. And we had the attitude every day in the gym. We went for a lot of other reasons, but probably the most important of which are the 3 things I tried to describe to you in greater detail today. Talk about this judging category, ROV, risk, originality, virtuosity. We took some risks, took some chances, but weren't afraid to fail in the process. Mitch Gaylord fell off that bar many times before he ever caught that slip of the games. We had originality, tried to stop playing catch-up, stop watching everybody else, do things on our own that we know were going to make a difference. And we had virtuosity. We tried to perfect what we did. And sometimes that meant the unglamorous, boring stuff of life. Because you know what? Doing things over and over and over again, it's not fun. But when the going gets tough, we just stop and ask ourselves, hey, why are we here? What are we doing this for? What are the goals? I don't care if the goals are 6 months down the road or 6 years down the road. If we have a clear vision of what we're trying to accomplish, when we stop and ask ourselves, is that worth working for right now? the answer, at least for us, was always, yeah, it's still worth it. Make us focus about that much more. So on that note, I've enjoyed trying to describe to you our definition of quality or excellence, maybe even perfection from a gymnastics point of view. I showed you pieces of a performance. Let me finish by showing you one last video, and we're going to end with this, and let me set the stage for it. By the way, I found this video in my attic. To show you how old I am, it was a VHS videotape. Don't make fun of me. I brought it downstairs. This is before all my kids have grown. My kids were little. I set them, all 5 of them, on the couch. I said, hey, guys, watch this. This is Dad at the Olympics. I'm going to show you this. I pop the tape in. First thing, of course, they say is, oh, Dad, you're so young. And what this video is of is the apparatus finals in Los Angeles. Going into the Palm Wars finals, I was tied for first place with Li Ning of China. He went up. Li Ning is China's most famous athlete. He won a number of medals at the Olympics, and he went on to start a clothing company. Li Ning Clothing is like the Nike of China. He's a billionaire. I hate the guy. He's actually a nice guy, darn it. Li Ning went up before me and scored a perfect 10. I'm pretty good at math. So I knew that to tie him for the gold medal, I had to score a 10. So if my knee bent anywhere in the routine, I don't win the gold medal. If my toe overlaps the other toe, I don't win the gold medal. If I take a step at the landing, I'm not going to win the gold medal. If I inhale when I'm supposed to exhale, I'm not going to win the gold medal. Had to be perfect. So with that in mind, of course, you can imagine that I began that performance knowing that I couldn't make one mistake. So I kind of gave it that little extra effort. For those of you that have ever run track and field in high school, if you've ever run the 400 meters, what happens when you run the first 300 meters as fast as you can? The last 100 meters, you die. Rigor mortis sets in. You tighten up. It's not pleasant. Well, at the end of every Palm Wars routine, every gymnast always feels a little bit of that burning sensation in their stomach, kind of when you do a bunch of crunches. We always feel that. I started to feel that sensation earlier than normal. And I thought, oh, Pete, you went out too hard. And I kind of had a very difficult, kind of a difficult trademark discipline that I had to perform. And I had, and this is kind of what was kind of made me noted by the judges. And I thought, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to make this dismount. And I'm thinking, wait a second, I could water it down, not do it. Do something easier, get off the horse, and I'll guarantee a medal. It just won't be gold, because the judges will know that I watered down my routine. But I can get a silver or a bronze. Or I could take my chances and go for the gold. But if I make a mistake, I won't win any medal at all. I'm having this debate during the routine. What are you going to do? And finally, I remember saying, Peter, you do what you trained. And so I went for it. I made it successfully, landed the dismount, but with all that emotional turmoil I brought myself through, I wasn't sure that I qualified for the perfect 10. So I emotionally resigned myself then to the silver medal. I thought, Peter, it wasn't a 10. You'll get a 9.95 or something, or a 9.9. That's okay. You got an Olympic medal. No one's ever won a medal from the U.S. on the Palm Wars. You got a medal. That's okay. And then they flashed the score, and that's when my kids fell off the couch laughing at me. And so I give you permission to laugh at me as well. So you'll chuckle at the technology of the day when you watch this, but you can save the laughter for the end, and I give you permission. Anyway, so we'll just show this video. Here we go.